There is a moment, somewhere on a Tuesday afternoon, when you walk into a room you have walked into 100 times, and your shoulders go up before your brain has a reason. The voice in your throat goes thin. The eye contact retreats by about 3 inches. And the meeting has not started yet. This is the frame breaking. And what you have been told about it is wrong. You are not weak. You are not unconfident. You are running an architecture that has 6 specific leaks, and nobody has ever named them for you. By the end of this, you are going to know all 6 Stoic behaviors that build unshakable confidence, where each one leaks, and the one Tuesday afternoon test that tells you which leak is yours. Quick thing before we go further. If you have ever walked into a meeting and felt your shoulders go up before your brain had a reason, drop a 6 in the comments. Just a 6. I read every one. And if any of this is starting to land, like the video, the algorithm sends this to the next person whose frame is breaking on a Tuesday afternoon. Here is what nobody tells you about confidence. It is not a personality trait. It is not a feeling you summon. It is not a thing you build through positive self-talk in the bathroom mirror. The Stoics had a word for it 2,000 years ago that has been almost completely lost in translation. The word was Constantia, not constancy in the modern English sense. Something closer to standing under, the state of being held up. Confidence, in the Stoic register, is not what is inside you. It is the frame you are standing inside. The frame is held up by specific behaviors, and the frame leaks in specific places. When the frame is intact, the room rearranges itself around you. When the frame is leaking, you rearrange yourself around the room. Your shoulders go up. Your voice goes thin. Your eye contact retreats. And what you experience as failed confidence is not actually a failure of you. It is the frame, doing what frames do when 6 specific behaviors are not holding it up. Marcus Aurelius wrote about it. Seneca wrote about it. Epictetus, who was born a slave and died a free man without ever owning a thing, wrote about it more than anyone else. The 6 behaviors are theirs. The leaks were already named. We have just been calling them by the wrong words. Quick note. This is education, not therapy. Watching this video does not install the frame. If anything in this is hitting close to home in a way that feels overwhelming, please reach out to a licensed professional. But naming the architecture, that part is yours. Here is the name. Confidence is not a personality trait you have or lack. It is a frame you stand inside or step out of. And we are going to call what just broke on you on Tuesday afternoon the steady frame. Not unshakable in the cartoon sense. Steady, in the Latin sense. Held up? 6 behaviors hold it. 6 places it leaks. If this is the first time anyone has named what your frame has been doing on a Tuesday afternoon, subscribe for the Stoic recalibration that builds the steady frame back. We name one of these every week. The next chapter we open here goes underneath the frame, into the daily architecture that keeps it standing. You do not have to do this work alone. Before we go any further, one small thing. Sit straight. Not military straight. Just upright enough that the breath goes all the way down. Exhale all the way out. Then, look up and count 3 things you can see in the room you are sitting in. Just 3. The reason this works is that the body and the frame are the same architecture. The frame leaks first through the shoulders, the breath, the eye contact. So you reset the frame from the body up. 12 seconds. Now we begin. Behavior 1. Stop predicting their contempt. The frame breaks before you walk in. You are still in the elevator. The meeting is on the 8th floor. And your nervous system has already filled the room with 3 faces. 2 of them disappointed, 1 of them indifferent. None of them are real. Epictetus, in the Enchiridion, chapter 5, drew the line in the cleanest sentence anyone has ever written about anxiety. It is not things themselves that disturb us, he said, but our judgments about those things. The mind reading you do in the elevator is not evidence. It is a judgment your nervous system mistook for the room. And the worst part is that the judgment then changes how you walk in. The shoulders go up. The voice goes thin. The eye contact retreats. And the room, the real room, adjusts to what it is now seeing. The contempt you predicted, you have just begun to author. The detection cue is this. If you can describe the room before you have entered it, the frame is already gone. The shoulders are doing the seeing for the eyes. Behavior 2. Walk in without rehearsing. The second leak is the rehearsal. You are in the parking lot. You are running the conversation. The opening line. The likely objection. The clever response. The fallback if the clever response fails. By the time you walk in, you have lived the meeting 4 times. None of those rehearsals will survive the first sentence the other person actually says. And what you have spent is not preparation. It is the steady frame, leaked into a parking lot. Marcus Aurelius, in Meditations Book 12, Chapter 3, named the rule that the rehearsal violates. You have power over your mind, he wrote, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The rehearsal is the mind trying to control outside events that have not happened yet. It is, by definition, the abandonment of the only thing the mind actually has power over, which is the present moment. The frame is held up by being in the room you are currently in, not the room you are about to walk into. Confidence does not script the meeting before it starts. It arrives empty-handed and trusts that the hands will know what to do. The detection cue. If you can recite the first 3 lines of a meeting that has not happened, you are not in the meeting yet. The frame is somewhere on the freeway. Behavior 3. Refuse the mirror test. The third leak is the mirror, and not the one in the bathroom. The mirror is the camera. It is the elevator window. It is the dark phone screen. It is the moment, just before you speak, when you check what they will see. Seneca, in Letter 7 to Lucilius, on crowds, wrote a line about audiences that lands here. Withdraw into yourself, he said, as far as you can. Associate with those who will improve you. Welcome those whom you can improve. The crowd he was warning about is not in the room. It is the imaginary panel of judges your reflection convenes the moment you check it. Self-monitoring research over the last 20 years has been clear and unkind on this point. The people who check their reflection most often before speaking are the ones perceived, by the listener, as least authentic. The frame leaks at the mirror because the mirror is the crowd doing your seeing for you. The frame is yours when you stop checking what they will see. The eyes belong to you again. The detection cue. If you adjust before you speak, you have already adjusted to a room that does not exist. The audience in the mirror has voted before the real audience has heard you. Behavior 4. Disagree without explaining first. The fourth leak is the preface. Someone says something you disagree with, and before the disagreement leaves your mouth, you offer the apology that will make the disagreement easier to receive. I might be missing something here, but just to be clear, I really respect what you are saying. I could be wrong, but it seems like. The preface is the frame asking permission to disagree. Epictetus, in the Enchiridion chapter 22, drew the line that this behavior crosses. If you have an earnest desire of attaining to philosophy, he wrote, prepare yourself from the very first to be laughed at, to be sneered at by the multitude. The preface is the rehearsal of being laughed at, performed in advance to soften the blow. And the strange thing is, the preface does not actually soften the blow. The disagreement still lands. The receiver still hears it. The only thing the preface accomplishes is signaling that you do not believe you have the right to disagree without permission. The cleanest test of whose frame you are standing inside is whether you can disagree without prefacing. The pre-justification is the leak. The detection cue. If your first 3 words before a disagreement are an apology, the frame is renting the room. It is not yours yet. Behavior 5. Hold the 3-second pause. The 5th leak is the gap. Someone asks you a question, a hard one, and you start answering before you have thought. The gap between question and answer terrifies the leaking frame. So the leaking frame fills it with a so, with an with a well, basically what I think is. The steady frame does not fill the gap. It uses it. Marcus Aurelius, in Meditations Book 7, Chapter 59, named what the gap is for. Look within, he wrote. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up, if you will ever dig. The dig takes about 3 seconds. And in 2025, in a randomized study published in Frontiers in Psychology, researchers measured what happens when speakers deliberately hold a 3 to 7 second pause before answering. The listeners, across every condition, rated the pausing speakers as more competent, more authoritative, and more confident than the instant answerers. The same words, the same content. The only variable was the gap. The pause, the data showed, is not hesitation. It is the dig. The frame is built in the 3 seconds you do not fill. The detection cue. If you can hear yourself filling the gap with a so or an before the answer, the frame did not survive the question. The pause is what was supposed to be there. Behavior 6. Stop listing your credentials. The 6th leak is the one that surprises everyone. It is the credential list. You are about to make a point, and before the point comes out, the resume comes out first. In my 15 years of doing this, having worked with 3 Fortune 500 companies, as someone who studied at, the credential list feels like authority. To the listener, it is the opposite. Seneca, in letter 88 to Lucilius, drew the line that this behavior crosses. He was writing about the difference between liberal arts and true wisdom. What does it profit me, he asked, to know how to divide a piece of land into parts, if I do not know how to share it with my brother? The credential is the dividing of the land. It is the proof that you have done the homework. But it is not the sharing. The sharing, the actual making of the point, is the only thing the listener wanted. And in 2024, the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology published a series of studies on what researchers call credential listing backfire. Unsolicited credentials, the data showed, reduce rather than increase perceived competence, most strongly when the credentials are listed before the point that requires them. The steady frame does not list the credentials. It makes the point. And the credentials, if the point is good, are inferred. Confidence is the absence of justification. The frame is yours when you stop offering proof that you are allowed to be in the room. The detection cue. If your first sentence in a meeting includes your job title or your years of experience, the frame is asking permission to be there. The frame is yours when the point arrives without the resume. Here is the full framework. The steady frame has 6 behaviors, and you have leaked through every one. 1. Stop predicting their contempt. Epictetus named it in the Enchiridion, chapter 5. The mind reading is not evidence. It is the frame breaking in the elevator. 2. Walk in without rehearsing. Marcus Aurelius named it in Meditations, Book 12, chapter 3. The rehearsed self is not the one who will be in the room. 3. Refuse the mirror test. Seneca named it in Letter 7. The mirror is the crowd doing your seeing for you. The eyes belong to you again when you stop checking. 4. Disagree without explaining first. Epictetus named it in the Enchiridion, chapter 22. The preface is the frame renting the room. 5. Hold the 3-second pause. Marcus Aurelius named it in Meditations 7:59, and the 2025 Frontiers in Psychology data confirmed it. The pause is the dig. The frame is built in the 3 seconds you do not fill. 6. Stop listing your credentials. Seneca named it in Letter 88. The list is the frame asking permission. The frame is yours when the point arrives without the resume. 6 behaviors, 1 frame. Hold any 3 of them, and the room shifts. Hold all 6, and the frame becomes the room you walked in with. If any of this language is ringing a bell, that is because we have named part of this story before. What we called the inner citadel was the wall. The walls Marcus built around the part of him that did not depend on the world. The steady frame is what stands inside that citadel. Same architecture, different chapter. The wall keeps the world out. The frame keeps you upright when the world is in. Here is what I want you to walk away with. Confidence is not a personality trait you have or lack. It is a frame you stand inside or step out of. The steady frame leaks in 6 places, and now you know all of them. The frame is not yours yet, but the leaks are. Say that to yourself once before you scroll on. You are not inconfident. The architecture is leaking. And architectures are easier to repair than personalities are to rebuild, because once you can see the architecture, you can read the room you are still standing in. So tonight, before you do anything else, 3 diagnostic questions. Not advice, just questions. Question 1. Which behavior do you fail at most often? The one that came to mind first. That is the leak that is currently costing you the most. The Stoics called it the master leak. It runs the others. Question 2. In the last 3 meetings you walked into, how many seconds did you spend rehearsing? If the answer is more than 0, behavior 2 is in the top 3. The rehearsal is the frame already on the freeway. Question 3. When was the last time you disagreed without prefacing? If you cannot remember, behavior 4 is the leak. The frame has been borrowing the room. 3 answers. That is your steady frame, mapped. Not a story about being unconfident. A story about an architecture with 6 specific leaks, 3 of which are leaking right now. And one more thing before we close, because this is education and the point of education is something you can use. 3 install practices, not philosophy. Just 3 things you can do this week to start holding the frame instead of leaking through it. 1. The frame audit. Tomorrow morning, before any meeting, take 90 seconds. Write down which of the 6 leaks happened in your last 3 meetings. Just the numbers, 1 through 6. The audit is the install. You cannot fix a leak you cannot name. 2. the one behavior sprint. Pick the leak that came to mind first when I named it. Just one. Hold it for the next 7 days. Not all 6. Just the master leak. The Stoics were clear on this. Epictetus, in the Enchiridion chapter 48, wrote that the philosopher does not try to fix everything at once. He fixes the one thing that is breaking everything else. The master leak is yours. 1 sprint. 7 days. 3. The Tuesday test. The next time you feel the frame go on a Tuesday afternoon, do not interpret it. Do not analyze it. Just name which of the 6 leaks is happening. Out loud if you can. In your head if you cannot. The naming is the seal. The Stoics called it prosos, the watching. You watch the leak. You name the leak. And then, very quietly, in the middle of the meeting nobody else is paying attention to, the frame begins to hold. That is the steady frame in your hands. Not a feeling. An architecture. With 6 components and 6 leaks. Architectures are easier to repair than personalities are to rebuild. That is the whole point of naming them. That is, the steady frame. The 6 behaviors. The 6 leaks. The hour you have spent here is the first move. The second move is the one you make tomorrow morning, on the way to the meeting that matters most this week. Pick the leak that came to mind first when I named it. That is the master leak. Hold it for 1 Tuesday. Just 1. And see what the room does. The next chapter we open here goes underneath the frame, into the daily architecture that keeps it standing. The morning. The midday. The evening. Same architecture. Different chapter. If you want to be there when it lands, subscribe. We name one of these every week. You do not have to do this work alone. And in the comments, 1 word. The behavior you are going to hold first. Mine, when I lived it, was the credential list. The first sentence I cut from every meeting was the resume. Yours might be the rehearsal, the mirror, the pause. Whatever it is, naming it is the second move. The first one was watching this. Daily Stoic mentality. Ancient wisdom for the modern mind.